Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. In today's video I'm going to talk to you about style, and I decided to talk to you about style on a day where I'm kind of dressed down in my Freddy Krueger jumper and my Elm Street earrings, but I decided to talk to you about style today because very recently I did a post on Instagram talking about authenticity and talking about how often you can make assumptions about people's lives from the posts that they put online. Obviously, some people lie about their lives online, and some people are deliberately trying to make their lives look a certain way online to gain followers, or to create the illusion that their life is different. But there are many, many people like me who are just showing certain small elements of their life. For example, I'm just showing my wardrobe for the most part. Occasionally I post things like books or like some drawings I've done, but for the most part it's just outfit posts. And I think because of the fact that I like to dress up a lot of the time, people probably assume that I've got a lot more going on in my life than I do. People probably assume that I've got lots of cool places to go in my, my cool outfits, and that I have events to go to or exciting things that I'm dressing up for. And it's just not true. I am somebody that is autistic and ADHD, also referred to as ADHD, and so I am overwhelmed a large portion of my life. I'm overstimulated, I have sensory issues, I spend the majority of time at home by myself, I live alone, I don't have a partner, I don't have a job. I volunteer 2 days a week, although I'm not volunteering at the moment because I have really been, well, I'm still a volunteer, but I haven't been going recently because I've been really struggling with burnout. I intend to start going again at the start of April. And yeah, so I really don't have a big social life at all. I don't see my friends very often. I could see them more if I wanted to. It is by choice. I don't see them very often because I like to spend most of my time by myself. The same with my family. I like to spend most of my time by myself. When I do have plans, I have to prepare in advance. It changes throughout the year. In summer, I tend to be more sociable and I tend to be able to handle things on a more short notice basis. Not short notice, but shorter notice. In winter, not good at handling things at all. And then in like the transitional seasons of spring and autumn, I tend to be more, I'm certainly more capable than I am in winter. I don't tend to struggle as much with burnout unless something specific has happened and really, really got me burnt out for a specific reason. Because I'm very careful with not pushing myself too much. If I ever have to do something, I like to leave the day before available where I'm not doing anything and the day after where I'm not doing anything, so I can actually recover. And yeah, I I do things the way that my life is designed is to help as much as possible with the limitations that I know that I have and the abilities that I know that I have. So the reason I wanted to kind of say that at the start of this video is I'm aware that, when people see me, they may think like, oh, she's dressed up, she must be going here or she must be doing this or whatever. No, like 95% of the time I'm dressed up in my house. Like, I'm not seeing anyone. I'm sat in my house with my dog. And I think a lot of people would be like, oh, what a waste. Like, why would you wear those extravagant clothes? Like, why would you wear a ball gown in your house, Mandy? Why would you wear like a full-on concert, garb in your house? Like, now you've got to wash all of that. Yes. I hate washing. It's one of the banes of my life. You wash it and then you wear it again and then it's dirty again. Horrible. It's like showering. You clean yourself and then you just have to do it again and again. Horrible. But the reason for me that I wear a lot of the time what could be considered extravagant or ridiculous outfits is because I don't go out and do a lot of things. So if I waited until I went out and did things to dress up, I'd just never dress up. And what a horrible life that would be. Dressing up makes me feel good. Um, you know, I a lot of the time people say to me like, what style is your style, or like what category is your style, or whatever. I say a lot of the time that's a total lie. I don't live my life having a lot of people asking me that question. That was an outright lie. Occasionally, once in a while, every few years, for some reason that will come up in conversation. It's probably come up in conversation like 7 times in total throughout my entire life. It's not a lot of times, but let's pretend it is. And I don't have an answer for that. I know that there are times where the outfits that I'm wearing would definitely fit into the Gothic category. But in terms of like subcultures, and in terms of like specifics of style, I find it very hard to place myself, because I'm not dressing to try and fit into anything, or I'm a very eclectic person in general, with the movies I like, with the music I like, with the books I like. Style is the same. I'm very, very eclectic. I just like lots of things. I love very brash, kitsch tack at the same time as sometimes being completely turned off by that and wanting something very elegant and very delicate and very demure. Um, it depends on my mood, and depending on how I feel in that particular moment, different things bring me joy. Like some days I might want to wear like shark head earrings that look like children's toys, but they have like blood hanging from the teeth. And I'll be like, oh, Jaws, and that would be, yeah, like totally. Whereas another day, I might want to do like Victorian horror goth kind of thing, and I want something a lot less like brash. And that's just me. And so, in terms of what category, I suppose alternative is the closest label I could have, but I often find it strange. I often find the word alternative as a label for style strange. Not saying that it shouldn't be used, or that if that's how you identify yourself, you shouldn't, like, couldn't care less. None of my business. I think I find it odd because I don't really understand what it is the alternative to. Um, like, if we're all out here choosing the clothes that bring us comfort. I mean, essentially, clothes are so that we're not walking around naked, aren't they? That's the baseline. Whether or not you're dressing practically, or whether or not you're dressing for joy and dopamine, or whether you're dressing because you want to be sexually attractive, or whatever. That it's to cover up us being naked. So the alternative would really just be naked. That's how my brain sees it. So when people say I dress alternative, I think it's, you know, I don't think what I do is alternative, because I'm wearing clothes for a start, and I don't really know what I'm the alternative to. Like, I can totally appreciate the fact that I do not dress in a way that you may stereotypically see in high street fashion shops. Yeah, sure. Although saying that, a lot of the time I will have basics from high street fashion shops, or from like supermarkets, like, places that just do like a basic tee or a basic strappy top or a basic sundress. Yeah, if it's a good price and it looks nice, like, why not? I'm not fussy about that type of thing. So yeah, but I do understand that maybe people do feel more comfortable having a way of kind of describing different style, and I have no issue with that. If somebody wants to call me something in particular, as a way of describing me. For whatever reason they need to, no issue with that whatsoever. My style changes all the time. It is completely inconsistent because it is based on my mood. As an ADHD individual, I hyperfixate, well, as an autistic and ADHD individual, I have special interests that I absolutely obsess over, that massively come into the, like, massively influence the way that I dress. But also I very often hyperfixate on new things that you see in my style, whether it's changing my hair or changing the way that I dress for a month to 3 months here, and then it will just vanish, and it was like it came out of nowhere. I was obsessed with it for months and then never again. It just sort of disappeared. That is a really, really common thing with me. So that's me. So I sort of wanted to touch on that because I think when people think of style, something huge is being authentic to yourself. And I think that if you're somebody that's thinking, okay, I would like to find my style, or, you know, hone in on my style, where do I start? I think the main thing to do before you start is really acknowledge. So before you do anything externally, really acknowledge internally that being authentic to yourself, no matter what anybody else says, no matter what anybody else deems it as, is irrelevant. The most important thing is being authentic to yourself. And if on the outside that looks a certain way that other people disagree with, that you know, if other people are not pleased with that, that's okay. Because if you're trying to find your style, you're not dressing for other people, you're dressing for you. If you are somebody that is massively affected and influenced by what others think, and you're not looking to change that, if you're somebody that is massively affected by wanting to seem sexually attractive to the people that you're interested in, or to a certain partner, or wanting to be accepted by a certain group of people, that's okay. It's not how I personally choose to live. I have done that. It didn't bring me joy. But I also don't want to ever come across like I'm saying, ugh, that's beneath me, because I've been there and it didn't bring me joy. But I can't say it won't bring you joy. It's up to you to decide that. If you go down that path and you realize at some point that doesn't bring you joy, I'm sure you're intelligent enough to know that it's time to try something else. But if right now you think this is really important to me, this is, you know, if you go through that checklist of what's really important to me when it comes to style, for example, you might say, like, I don't know if, like, what you identify as gender wise, but let's say that you're a woman, and that you identify as a woman, and you're thinking to yourself, okay, so the most important things to me are, I want to come across as feminine, stereotypically feminine in society's view of feminine. And therefore, I want to have a style that incorporates these particular elements. Okay, awesome. Like, there is nothing wrong with that. And I think anybody telling you that you shouldn't do that is really being quite damaging. I think there is so much negativity surrounding people, telling people what they should do. But what we don't seem to acknowledge is you can do that on the opposite end of the scale as well. You can be just as negative by forcing people away from what seems natural to them because it's different to you. And I think what's most important is keeping an open mind and letting everybody know that this is their life and they can do what they want. If you really love that, like, trad wife, housewife style, that like 1950s style, those like if you want to dress like a Stepford wife and that brings you joy, and every single day you wake up and you think, I want a beautiful floral dress with, you know, 50s style dress with a big petticoat, and I want to put on lace white gloves, and I want a sun hat. Awesome. Do you know what I mean? I love that idea. I couldn't do that every day, but that sounds like an awesome outfit I can totally get behind for one day. I couldn't do it every day, but if that's what you want to do, just like if you want to wear heels, wear heels. If you want to wear a push-up bra that shoves your boobs together and up under your chin, again, it is not for me. But if that's what brings you joy, that's okay. Just because now we live in a world where people are more conscious of things like ethical fashion, for example, and of feminism in general, doesn't mean you can't enjoy things that may potentially be seen as on the opposing side. For example, just because somebody wants to wear traditional housewife clothing of the 1950s doesn't mean they don't believe in equal rights for women today. They're clothes, do you know what I mean? And I think that you should dress however you want to dress, in whatever way makes you feel comfortable. If you want to dress in a way that is sexually attractive to whoever it is that you are attracted to gender wise, you know, there will be people out there that are like, oh, you're a sellout, like you're just out here trying to be attractive to other people, you don't know who you are, you're basing your self-worth on other people. Number one, it's none of their business if you are. Like, it's not necessarily the best way to be, because obviously it's an inconsistent way to be. And so if that is how you're basing your self-worth, it's probably not the best. But if that's what you choose to do, that's no one else's business. And you have the right to do that until it comes to a time where you think, oh, this is not serving me the best purpose. And then you can decide to do something different. You're allowed to do that. So yeah, before actually kind of thinking about physical style at all, I think what's important to ask yourself in the most authentic way is, what do I want to get out of my style? For me personally, as an ADHD person, I massively underproduce on dopamine. So for me, looking in the mirror and feeling like a dopamine hit from my outfit is my number one goal. It doesn't matter to me if someone else likes the outfit. I'd prefer if people didn't look at me and go, oh, I hate your outfit. Not just anybody, like I don't care about people, but I mean, like when I hang out with my friends, if they're like, oh, is it laundry day kind of thing, I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't get changed. I would think it was rude because my friends would not do that. My friends aren't like that. But, you know, I don't really want to dress in a way that I think the people around me that know me, that understand what I'm doing with my style, would literally detest. Um, and I don't think I ever do. But that isn't my priority. My priority is getting that hit of dopamine. Another priority for me is that when I look in the mirror or see a photo of myself in an outfit, I want to be instantly reminded of who I am. And so I like every single outfit that I pick to um, have some form of aspect, I suppose, some aspect of my personality on show. So for example, what I'm wearing today, even though it's just a jumper, is a nod to the fact that I like horror movies, and I like 80s horror movies, you know. So I'm wearing a Nightmare on Elm Street-esque jumper. It's not a Nightmare on Elm Street jumper, it's just a jumper, but that's what it makes me think of. And I've got my Elm Street earrings in, and then I've got these, is it guillotine, I don't know what it's called, the heady choppy offy thing, and I've got this crucifix necklace, very over the top, because that all makes me think of horror movies. I've got this skull headband on. So yeah, there are some days where I dress a lot more like whimsical, like whimsy goth, 90s, all like a whimsy goth, dark fairy tale, dark cottagecore, kind of pagan-esque clothing. And again, that when I look in the mirror, I think, oh, you can really see from this that I like my fairy tales. You can really see from this a nod to the fact that I'm pagan and that I'm interested in that kind of history that goes along with these types of things. A lot of my jewelry is pagan related. You know, I'm very into Norse mythology and Nordic paganism, so a lot of my jewelry is like Norse based. Not all of it. No, obviously not all of it. Not, what am I trying to say? I haven't only got pagan jewelry that is Norse, I've also got other pagan jewelry, is what I'm trying to say. But yeah, it's finding those elements of myself and bringing them to the surface that I really enjoy, because then I get that dopamine hit, but I also get that sense of it's you, like look who you are. And that's really important to me. Something that was very important to me when I was younger and really isn't very important to me now, and I don't feel like this is a conscious, it's something I've noticed, but I don't think it's like a conscious decision for me personally, is when I was younger, I definitely base a lot of my value on feeling sexually attractive to other people. Now I really don't have any interest whatsoever in being sexually attractive to other people. That's not to say I will never be in a relationship. It's not to say I will never be in a relationship in my entire life. But now that I understand more about myself, now that I prioritize my needs, and I understand that I'm somebody that actually has a disability and, you know, different things like that, I understand that for me, relationships may look considerably different to what they look like to perhaps the average neurotypical member of society. That's fine by me. I'm not looking to change that. But so when I am dressing on a daily basis, I'm not dressing with the intention of being sexually attractive, because, as I said, 95% of the time I'm inside my own house. And even when I go out, I'm not going out with the intention of luring somebody in. So it's literally irrelevant for me whether or not I am sexually attractive. Yeah, that's just not a priority for me. Also, something that used to be like on my radar that now really isn't so much is when I was younger and being a plus size person, I was always like, oh, does this make me look big or small? Like, does this make me look big? Well, I'm a size 18 to 20 UK, so that's the size stuff makes me look. Do you know what I mean? Because that's the size I am. There are certain things that flatter body types more than others, for sure, but that was like 100% important to me when I was younger, is I want to look as small as possible. Now I'm not afraid to take up space. Now I am not uncomfortable in my own skin. So now if I have a dress that I really like, but it's perhaps less flattering in the sense that it makes me look more the size I actually am rather than hides that, that doesn't bother me. But if that is something, again, I'm not saying any of these things like are better or worse. I'm just saying everybody has different priorities, and whatever your priorities are totally okay, because of the fact that it's you that has to wear these clothes. It's you that has to live with your style. So whatever is important to you is okay. And I think it's really important that you shouldn't let anybody else tell you. You know, I think there's a lot of shame that can be external shame that we can be exposed to from any kind of community that we fit into, whether that is the alternative community that are saying, you know, oh, you should only wear these clothes and you shouldn't buy your clothes from this place and you should only do this kind of thing. Or if it is the plus size community and they're saying you shouldn't wear things to make you look smaller, you should embrace the fact that you're plus size and you should be proud of it. Like, yeah, awesome. If you are happy in your skin, that's amazing. Like, who could wish for anything else? But that doesn't mean that's how you feel. And if that's not how you feel, the worst thing that you can have forced on you is to be made to feel guilty that that's not how you feel. If you already feel uncomfortable in your body, you don't then need to be told by other people that you should feel bad about that. Like, you already feel bad, right? So you don't need more of that. I find it confusing a lot of the time when it comes to communities, and I think that's why, like, I was going to say I could fit into lots of different communities should I want to, but I think I quite like just skirting around the edges of lots of things. I have lots of interests in common with many people, and so I could fit into communities. But in these communities tend to be rules and tend to be drama and tend to be lots of things that I don't have any interest in, I don't have any time for. And it's just nothing I'm wanting to invest in personally. So yeah, when it comes to people like, oh, you can only be goth if you're this. You can only be like trad goth if you have this hair and if you wear your lipstick like this and you do your eyes like this, and this is the reason and these are the people that this came from, and so you have to do, like, I get it. I get that that's a thing. I get that people are very protective of different communities and of different subcultures and want to honour those. But I think any form of purity to the point of obsessively kind of gatekeeping slash tracking what other people are doing and informing them that you are disapproving of it, is a waste of time. And I don't understand, like, there are plenty of things in my life that are very important to me that I am downright obsessive about. And liking those things in a certain way, honouring those things in a certain way, and following rules that go along with those things in a certain way, I will stick to because I've decided to. But I don't need you to do that. It doesn't take away from me if you do it differently. It doesn't, you know, the movies that I love, it doesn't take away from me if you don't like the same movies that I like, or if you don't credit the same creators or artists or filmmakers, or if you don't, you know, if you're using hashtags on Instagram that are not the correct hashtags to go with the correct thing, and then people are going to get confused by it and think that this means this and that means that, look what you've done, that I just don't care. Like, anybody that has a genuine interest in something is going to do their research. And so if somebody decides to put trad goth underneath all of their Instagram posts, but they're actually dressing like Margot Robbie in the Barbie movie, and then somehow, some way, there is someone somewhere that's like, oh, this must be trad goth, right? If they are genuinely interested in that, they're going to research it. If they have any interest, like, nobody, I don't think we have to worry about these things getting so miscommunicated and so confused that they completely lose their original origins, because anybody that really has any investment in those things will make the effort to look it up. If somebody's just, you know, going through a phase and interested in it, maybe they're hyperfixating on it for a few months, it's not an issue, is it? It it doesn't really affect you. And I think the people that are most affected by this is the people that are feeling a bit lost, desperately trying to find themselves, and just keep running into these people that for some reason feel it's their job to rule keep and gatekeep communities and subcultures, and it just leaves other people feeling like they can't ask questions, they can't explore, they can't play, they can't, they can't discover things. And I think it would be much more, much more worth everyone's time if perhaps, rather than being aggressive about it, we asked questions. Maybe ask the person who dresses like Margot Robbie how in Barbie, what they feel that their style or their pictures or whatever, how is it related to trad goth, and not in an aggressive way, just a genuine thing. Like, I saw this in your in your hashtags, and I was just wondering in what way, like maybe, just maybe, in some way that you haven't considered, maybe it is, it's just not in a way that you were thinking, or maybe they don't even realize it's there. Like, you don't know, do you? But I think that once you've got past all of that kind of nonsense and you're actually looking at your physical style, I think the main thing is to play, it's to experiment, it's to see yourself as a doll and to acknowledge that everything's temporary, including your body, including your age, including the way you look in every outfit that you try on. Because just because something looks awesome on you on Monday doesn't mean it's still going to look awesome on Friday, doesn't mean it's still going to look awesome after you've eaten, doesn't mean it's still going to look awesome next week, doesn't mean you're going to look like, if you loved that outfit the last time you wore it and it brought you so much joy, it doesn't mean you're going to love it when you're on holiday and you try it on again. Like, things are temporary. Our body changes shape, our body ages. That's literally what's supposed to happen. That's not a shame, that's literally our existence. That's for those of us that don't get to experience that, that's a shame to because the opposite of that is dying young. That's a shame. For those of us that get to experience aging, sagging, wrinkling, wobbly bits, putting on weight, losing weight, loose skin, hairy bits in strange places, that is a blessing. That is what is supposed to happen to us. So actually seeing yourself as a living, breathing doll that is forever changing, I think is really useful, because I think having this expectation that clothes are going to look the same as you as they did on the model on the website, or the same as in your head, is going to really disappoint you, because they won't. Sometimes they'll look better, sometimes they'll look worse. The way that you see yourself will change depending on your outlook on life in that particular moment. Depending on your mental health, depending on your perspective of life, that's going to change how you see everything, especially your own reflection. And I think that accepting yourself as a doll and as something that you can dress up, but that isn't guaranteed. There is no guarantee that your body is going to remain the same, even throughout the day, let alone over time. And accepting that that's fine, that that's okay, that's all part of it, I think that's really helpful. And also accepting that you're not entering into an agreement with anyone, you're not signing a contract with anyone when it comes to your style. You can do whatever you want. If you want to dress up 5 days a week and then have 2 days off at the weekend to wear your pajamas all day long, okay. If you want to dress up 2 days next week and have 5 days off, cool. If you don't want to dress up at all for 2 weeks and then have 3 days where you literally look like you're, I don't know, watching The Crown, or like in The Crown, okay, like, you're allowed to do whatever you want. And I think really making it fun, giving yourself playtime, is very important, because otherwise, what is the point? If you are trying to create a style for yourself, surely, I mean, I could be mistaken. This is how I look at it. Maybe I'm wrong. for you, and that's okay. But I can't understand personally why anybody would want to associate themselves with a style if it didn't make them happy. Like, everybody has different priorities in terms of that style, but surely the overall thing that we're all trying to achieve is feeling good. So yeah, I assume that is everybody, like a priority for everybody. Another thing that I think is important to consider, which has just completely gone out of my head as I'm talking, I was thinking to myself, I hope by the time I get to the end of this sentence it's come back into my head again, but I haven't. What was I going to say? Is when it comes to physically dressing yourself, are you, like, what are your expectations? I know that for me personally, finally having the confidence to be like, do you know what, I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to wear the clothes that I've always wanted to. Like, I loved dressing up as a child. We had a big, we called it the dressing up box at my grand's house. It was actually a monk's bench full of all of these clothes. And I used to spend so much of my time playing with the dressing up box because I loved dressing up. Like, an old bridesmaid's dress that my sister had worn once to a wedding was in there, and I used to spend so much of my life wearing this bridesmaid's dress just around the house because it was nice. Why not? And I think it's important to ask yourself, when you're first getting into this, why you're getting into it, and if you're gonna struggle, if other people are inspiring you, are you going to struggle with comparison to other people? Because I was so inspired by people that I found online. I was massively inspired by the Gothic Alice. And it wasn't her clothing style in particular that inspired me, because again, her clothing style is lots of different things. What really attracted me to her was that we have a lot of shared interests. And I loved the fact that so many of her interests she portrayed through her clothing, which was not something I was doing myself. And I was like, I can do that? Like, that's a thing we can do? And so that hugely inspired me. Obviously, you can wear a t-shirt with a band on that you like, or with a movie on that you like, but it had never, before I discovered her, it had never really dawned on me that it's perfectly acceptable, if I want to read a book, or to read a series of books, or to watch some movies and just be like, I'm in a fairy tale mood and I can dress like a fairy tale character. Not a specific one. I mean, you can if you want to, but at no point have I ever been like, I'm feeling very Belle today, and like just waltzed into town as Belle from Beauty and the Beast. That isn't something I've particularly done. But I do very much get into fairy tale moods. I love dark fairy tale. I mean, a lot of fairy tales are dark, aren't they? But that dark fairy tale, witchy, goblin-esque, bog witch vibe is where I live a lot of the time. And so, yeah, when I discovered the Gothic Alice, I was just like, amazing. So she massively inspired me. I think the name on Instagram is, her name is Emily, but I'm pretty sure it's Oh Mercy Me on Instagram. Massively inspired me when it came to actually posting my daily outfits as well. Like, there's so many people that I have found from here, there, and everywhere, like YouTube and Instagram, and like different people, totally different styles, but they massively inspired me because it gave me the confidence to be like, oh, I'm allowed to do this too. And, you know, one of the things that I thought when I first started sharing on Instagram my wardrobe pictures was, I want something that when I look at, I get that instant dopamine hit and I'm instantly reminded of who I am. So when I look at my grid and I'm feeling a little bit lost in life, I can just put my Instagram up and I can have a look at it. This was before they did the update and changed how it looked. Now it's all oblongy and wrong, but I can just look at my Instagram grid and I can instantly just be like hit with that, this is you, babe. Do you know what I mean? And I was like, yeah, But I knew instantly that I didn't want to compare myself to other people that were doing certain things. So, for example, the Gothic Alice, I follow her on Instagram, and I know that she will often say, like, she hasn't worn the same outfit combination in forever, you know, like she may wear certain pieces of an outfit but never ever wear the entire outfit combination together. So, never wears the same outfit twice. I'm not like that at all. When I find an outfit that I like, I find a lot of joy in obsessively wearing that same outfit over and over again, sometimes for days and days in a row. So I know that I can't compare myself to that. And I don't want to compare myself to that because for me, I don't have enough clothes to do that or enough imagination to be able to come up with new ways, new formulations of putting my clothes in different order. It's not something that is a priority for me. For her, that's obviously a priority and something she really enjoys, which is epic. Because if you go through her Instagram, like, it's insane. It's not a priority for me. That's not something that I'm bothered about. And I actually think for me, I would be missing out on by doing that because I like wearing my things obsessively. So I think that if you are inspired by certain things, that's great. But I think you have to be able to draw a line at some point. I'm not saying where that line should be because only you can say that, but be able to draw that line at some point and be like, okay, you know, I can't like I can take inspiration from this place, but then I have to leave it. You know, because that is a place I've been very confused as an autistic person in the past. I don't know if you've heard of copy and pasting, autistic people copying and pasting. When we like something, we're inspired by something, and we will literally lift it and be like, this will be me now. You know, whether it's a real person or a TV character, or whatever it is, and it's copying the hairstyle, copying the voice, copying the clothes. It's literally, you look at something and you're like, ah, I should have this for me. And you literally just wear someone else for a while to do life in. And I've done that plenty of times before because I didn't understand at that point what I was doing. It happened naturally because I didn't get it. I knew that I was doing it, but I wasn't sure why I was doing it. I knew that I was inspired and I knew that I was getting something out. It's very hard to explain unless you've experienced it yourself, but now I can kind of look at when I get that urge, I can look at somebody and I can be like, what is it in particular that you have that urge for? And I can be like, interesting. Okay, in what way that is authentic to me can I take from that? Like, can I take inspiration from that and apply it to me whilst at the same time not confusing my original priorities? And I think that that is why, for me, when I talked right at the start about finding out what your priorities are in terms of what you want from a style, it's so easy to get lost in what everyone else is doing. We live in a world that tells you constantly that you're not enough, to try and get you to spend money and, you know, feel bad about yourself, to try and get you to consume. And the only way to really survive that is to have a game plan right from the start of what you know for a fact you want to achieve. So that if, whilst all of these outside messages are coming towards you and penetrating your mind at, you know, when you're desperately trying to just exist, being able to kind of combat that and back those different things away and be like, these don't agree with my original priorities. But occasionally you'll have something that comes through and you're like, yeah, you can come in. And so that brings me to my last point, because I've gone on so long in this video, but that brings me to my last point, which is that with the playing, with the experimenting, it's perfectly natural for your style to change over time, and you don't have to feel bad about that. You know, in the same way that our hair, we can't commit to one hairstyle for the rest of our life unless there is perhaps a religious reason that you would, or like a spiritual reason, or you know, maybe like a law where wherever you lived, that you weren't allowed to cut your hair, you weren't allowed to do something for whatever reason. In general, the majority of us will not keep one hairstyle for the rest of our lives. Many of us will go through different things throughout the year. Lots of us will change the colour of our hair multiple times within a year. Some people like to add highlights at a certain time of year and then have their hair go dark again at a different time of year. Some people like to have a fringe cut in winter and then grow it out as it moves towards summer. Like, people like to do different things, you know, and your style is the same in terms of accessories and clothing, but also over time it will change as well, whether it's changing to suit your body, whether it's changing to suit how your life is looking. You know, if when you first chose and started playing around with your style, you were in high school, for example, awesome. But maybe later on in life, when you have a full-time job and you've got 2 or 3 children, and you know, the things that you're doing in, you know, with your day and with your time have changed significantly, maybe the way that you were dressing is no longer convenient. That doesn't mean you have to change your style completely, but maybe now wearing like 6-inch stilettos is not the most appropriate thing in terms of what's convenient for you. Maybe if you still want the extra height, maybe platform shoes would be better for you, or maybe now actually comfy shoes are your priority, and so you shift from what used to be this massive interest in shoes, maybe that goes to necklaces or makeup, or you know, maybe if you used to have a really big interest in makeup and you used to do your makeup so exotic and fancy every single day, and now you just don't have the time for that. Or maybe you're going through a period where you've got like adult acne or something going on and you don't want to be putting makeup on anymore, but you don't want to feel like you're missing out. Okay, where else can we adjust? What can we bring into your style that feels just as extravagant, that brings us that level of enjoyment and confidence and pizzazz that all your makeup looks did, but is somewhere else, you know? So I think actually leaving your style, leaving leaving the wardrobe door open is like the best way I can describe it. So enjoy your style, be confident in your style, play with your style, but always leave the wardrobe door open so that when things no longer serve you, they get sent to Vinted, and when new things become attractive to you, they get brought into the wardrobe. And I think that's really what I would say. I'm not gonna ever be like, oh, you should go to this shop for this, and you should attach studs to this and that, but never this, and you should get things from here and there, and you should never wear this colour with that colour. I don't care enough about what other people do to do that. And also, I am far too inconsistent in my own style to ever be able to give that kind of advice. Saying that, if people are interested, I can make another video, because this one has gone on for a year. I can make another video where I talk about like how I find the best deals for things, how, like, what I look for in charity shops, different stuff like that. But I will never give specifics. I don't think. I can't imagine a situation where I would, because I can't imagine a situation where I would have information where that would be relevant for anybody, or that morally I would agree with telling everybody to do one thing. So yeah, I hope that this video was helpful for you. I hope you didn't think that my outfit was disgusting, but if you did, I'm okay with that, and I shall tell you for why. It's because it brings me joy, and doing this video, as I'm sure you can tell, I haven't been looking in the camera, I've been looking at myself in my beautiful outfit, and I'm so happy. So this has just been like a 50-minute dopamine hit for me, hence why I'm smiling, and now I'm gonna go and get on with the rest of my day. Bye for now.